All right, so Dark Souls 1 tier list. So about a week ago, I did a Demon Souls tier list. I'm just continuing the series here. Anyway, I'm not gonna continue any longer, but let's just get into it. All right, so Four Kings. That's the first one on this list here. Four Kings is very, honest to God, I think it's the epitome of average. I think it's a really cool design and concept, but I don't think it's executed too well. The Four Kings in and of themselves don't really do a whole lot. Um, but I really think the arena is cool, just the complete black abyss. But I think C tier is, in my opinion, where they belong. So we'll just leave it at that. Gaping Dragon, um, probably also C tier. It's very. I think the actual design of the Gaping Dragon is absolutely fantastic, but the actual fight I think is can be a little wonky sometimes with hitboxes. But I think it's an actually okay fight. But most of the C tier is actually due to the visuals of the boss, which I think, as I said, are absolutely incredible. Great Grey Wolf Sif. That's an S tier fight. So Sif, in and of himself or herself, I'm not exactly sure which gender Sif is, but Sif, in and of themselves, is a okay fight. I think it's actually a pretty good fight, but my God, the lore behind that fight is absolutely incredible. And yeah, Sif is so cool. You're just fighting a dog with a sword. I'm actually going to be getting a husky here pretty soon, and it will constantly remind me of Sif. So, yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Gwyn, Lord of Cinder. Gwyn is an A tier fight. I think the lore significance behind the fight is huge. But the actual fight is Gwyn is very, very aggressive. But I still think it's a great fight. I think it's a appropriate challenge for the final boss of the first game. And yeah, let's move on. Iron Golem. I think Iron Golem was another C tier fight. Now I know a lot of people have had Iron Golem just completely fall off the map. I've beaten Dark Souls 1 probably about 6, 7 times, something like that. I've never had him do that, but I've always find it fun, kind of like I don't know if there's any sort of way to make him, intentionally fall off, kind of like there is in Dragon Rider and Dark Souls 2, where he can just take 7 steps forward and then roll and he'll fall off the map. But I don't know if there's any way to do that. But Iron Golem, I think is actually a pretty interesting fight. It's not an overly difficult fight because you just kind of toenail clip him and basically die to that. But he has a couple of counter moves. But overall, I think a C tier fight. Nothing special. Somewhat. It's not a forgettable fight because I don't really think any of the bosses in Dark Souls 1 are super forgettable. But yeah, anyway, let's move on here. Moonlight Butterfly. That's a horrible fight. I really hate Moonlight Butterfly. Whenever I play Souls games, I always do a melee only build. And if you've ever fought Moonlight Butterfly, that is definitely not what you want to do. I mean, you can easily beat Moonlight Butterfly with a melee only build, but the Moonlight Butterfly just floats in the air for probably about a minute, then just shoots moderately weak spells at you and just comes down for however many seconds and just feeds on the basically algae that's there. Yeah, not a great fight. I never intentionally seek out this fight unless I need the Emperor that's after the boss. All right, Nito. I have conflicting opinions about Nito because I think Nito is a really cool fight. Or I think Nito's a really cool design, and I think it's a really good fight in concept, but I'm never a huge fan of when they just use additional enemies as the difficulty. So I think between God, I really like Nito. So I think I can reasonably give Nito a B tier because Nito does something other than just, have just summon trash enemies to fight you. But Nito, in and of himself, actually has a move set. So I think a B tier is fair. I could justifiably put him in C tier, but we're gonna leave him where he is right now. Ornstein and Smo. Yeah, that's an S tier fight. It's a very, very S tier fight. Ornstein and Smo is I've played through most of the Souls games. I have not beaten 2, and I have not played Sekiro. But as far as I'm concerned, Ornstein and Smo is the epitome of a gank fight. That fight is so perfectly executed that every time I'm doing a Dark Souls 1 playthrough, I love fighting Ornstein and Smo. It's a very technical fight. You need to know what you're doing. But it is a really, really good fight, I gotta say. Pinwheel. Pinwheel. Pinwheel in and of himself is not a great fight. I'm gonna put it in D tier, and the only reason I'm giving him that high is, yeah, it's one of the easiest bosses of all time. But I mean, it's Pinwheel, come on. Yeah, I'm gonna Pinwheel a D tier. I could probably put him in C tier, but Seath the Scaleless. The soundtrack is fantastic for Seath, but I think Seath is probably on the level of Nito. It's not a great fight. It's not an overly fantastic fight, rather, but it is a very memorable fight. I have actually pretty vivid memories of probably about 10 to 12 years ago. I went over to one of my friends in Colorado, and they were playing Dark Souls 1, the original version, and they were fighting Seath. And I very, very much so remember that, and it's actually a great memory. So, anyway, let's move on. Asylum Demon. This is a pretty tricky placement for me. Asylum Demon, in and of themselves, is a pretty mediocre fight. It's not great, but Asylum Demon is so iconic. So, I think I'm also going to put Asylum Demon in a B tier. It's the first boss that a lot of people have fought in Souls in general. I think a lot of people started with Dark Souls 1, and the first boss they ever encounter is Asylum Demon. So I think there's something to be said there. But Asylum Demon, overall, generally not a great fight, but a very, very basic fight. But anyway, let's move on. Stray Demon. Yeah, that's a reskin of Asylum Demon with one additional explosion, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, not a great fight. Not a whole lot I have to say about it. Taurus Demon. So my girlfriend has actually been playing through. Well, she played through Dark Souls 1 a little bit, and she actually got to the Taurus Demon. And we all know that you can plunge attack the Taurus Demon, but I have never seen, until my girlfriend played or fought the Taurus Demon. The Taurus Demon jumped up on that little tower that above the ladder, and that was pretty wild. But anyway, that's besides the point. Taurus Demon, I think, it's an okay fight. I think it's a pretty decent second boss. I don't think it's anything special, but so I'm gonna put it in C tier. But it is a pretty good second boss, I gotta say. All right, here we go. Bed of Chaos. I think everybody knows where that goes. That's an F tier boss. It's just bad. If you ever fought the Bed of Chaos, it's bad. Yeah. Artorias the Abyss Walker. That's going to the right at the top of the S tier. That is my favorite fight in Dark Souls 1 and one of my favorite fights in all of Souls. I think the lore behind Artorias is absolutely brilliant, and the fight is incredible. It's a very challenging fight, but it is also a very fair fight. And whenever I'm doing a Dark Souls playthrough, I love fighting Artorias. Kalameet. Calamine, I would say, is an A tier. I think it's a very fair dragon fight, but I think there is some problems with the toenail clipping with Calamine, but it's a very good dragon fight, but it is not the best dragon fight. Still very good though. Manus, Father of the Abyss, definitely an A tier fight. I like Manus a lot, and I love the fact that you can summon Sif for him. But I think his moveset is very challenging. It's you need to be very quick as a reaction because he has a huge combo there. But Manus is, I think visually, Manus is super cool looking, but not really a whole lot of negative I can say about Manus. Honest to God, I think I could justifiably put Manus in S tier, but I don't think he is as good as Artorias or Ornstein and Smo. In all fairness, yeah, he is better than Sif, but Sif is just it's Sif. Come on. Sif is a good boy, good girl. I don't know, but Manus, yeah, I can probably put Manus at the top of A tier. I think that's absolutely fair. All right, Sanctuary Guardian. That's a B tier fight. Sanctuary Guardian is very, I think overall it's a very solid fight, but I do not like how many range attacks he has, and it can be really difficult to hit the Sanctuary Guardian, but I think overall it's a pretty okay fight. Actually, you know, I have fun with the fight all the time. So, all right, Bell Gargoyles, another B tier fight. It's really the original gank fight. I mean, yeah, there's man eaters and demon souls, but I mean, who in general who played Demon Souls before Dark Souls? I'm sure there's quite a bit of people that did, but I think for a lot of people that Dark Souls 1 was their first Souls game. But Bell Gargoyles, very cool fight. I don't think there's anything unfair about it, other than of course having two enemies, but even then I think it's a, you know, for what it is, I think it's actually a pretty fair fight. Okay, next one. Capra Demon. Oh man, I do not like Capra Demon at all. I think Capra Demon really belongs at the top of F tier. I do like Capra Demon more than Moonlight Butterfly and of course Beta Chaos, but Capra Demon in and of himself as a singular enemy is still not very great. It's such a basic boss, but then you get into the horrible arena and have those two dogs there. Yeah, that leads to a really bad fight. Capra Demon is not good at all. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Ceaseless Discharge. I have never actually fought Ceaseless Discharge the legitimate way, so I'm just gonna put him in E tier. It's a cheese boss. Absolutely. You just run back to the fog gate and yeah, you just kill him in like 7 shots. Yeah. Not a great boss. Pretty cool looking boss visually, but not a great boss overall. Centipede Demon. I think Centipede Demon belongs in D tier personally. It's a boss that moves around way too much, and I have seen this boss have been referred to as the camera demon, which I think if you lock onto this boss, it is pretty accurate. So, not a great boss, pretty generic. It is what it is. Quelaag, that's an A tier fight. I really like Quelaag. I think it's a very fair fight, but also, at least for an inappropriate level, pretty challenging. Yeah, not much more I can say about it, but yeah, she does have boobies, which is pretty nice, but overall, as a fight is, no, not bad at all. Priscilla, this is one that I really go back and forth on. The first time I fought Priscilla was on like a new game +4, to where if she inflicted the bleed status, I just instantly die. So that might taint the time I fought her. But I do think the invisibility mechanic is actually pretty interesting. Um, and I think for that reason, I'm really wavering between C and D, but I think I can justifiably put her at the bottom of C tier. Um, I think if she did not have the invisibility mechanic, I think she'd be an absolutely fantastic fight. Now, while I do like the invisibility mechanic, like I said, the first time I fought her was on New Game +4, so where she'd bleed me, she'd kill me instantly. So I think C tier is where she really belongs. Okay, Dark Sun Gwendolyn. I hate this fight. It's just it's just not good. It's literally just go up, hit Gwendolyn a couple times, and he retreats and rinse and repeat. That's all that fight is. Um, yeah, not great. Okay, Demon Fire Sage. Yep, that's another reskin of the Asylum Demon. Yeah, that's all there is to it. Has a little bit more explosion effects, but you know, it is what it is. Anyway, so that is the my Dark Souls 1 tier list. So the next one I will do probably within the next week or so is going to be Dark Souls 3, as I have not played Dark Souls 2 yet. I'll beat it eventually. I need to muster up some patience for that game because the only accessible copy I have is the Scholar of the First Sin. Anyway, regardless, the next one I am going to be doing is Dark Souls 3, which I'm very excited for because that is my favorite in all of the Souls franchise, Elden Ring included. And that game has some really, really good bosses. So, yeah, anyway, that's it. Later.